Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Today we learned from two different sources that Tesla's electricity demand is set to expand aggressively. First, Tesla and Zelestra have agreed to a long-term PPA power purchase agreement in Texas. With this one, Tesla will purchase the entire output of the 140 megawatt AC Lumen Farm solar plant in Texas. This Lumen site is in Northeast Texas and is expected to head into construction in 2027 and be fully operational in 2029. And Tesla and Lumen have already worked together in the past in Spain with a 57 megawatt AC deal. And Tesla and Zelestra have already worked together in the past, signing a 57 megawatt AC deal in Spain last year. And Zelestra's CEO said, "We plan to bring the new solar plant online as quickly as possible to support Tesla's growing energy needs in Texas." So think Cortex 1 and 2, Cybercab production, Optimus production, the Optimus Academy factory, the Robotaxi hubs and charging, and don't forget about Tesla's Megapack factory in Brookshire, which is set to be located with Tesla's new solar production facility. And to clarify, these PPAs are not Tesla buying electricity, meaning the electrons from that site from the Lumen farm, but rather this is a partial hedge from Tesla on electricity pricing from ERCOT going likely a decade plus into the future. Tesla is effectively betting here that the wholesale market prices from ERCOT will go up over time, so Tesla is going to lock in all of that output at a fixed rate. And over time, that Lumen farm will sell those electrons onto the ERCOT grid and then settle up the difference between the wholesale price they receive and what Tesla locked in at that fixed price. And then of course, doing so, Tesla gets those RECs, renewable energy credits, that they can effectively match toward its own electricity use. So let's say Tesla signs the agreement at $40 per megawatt hour. On any given day, the wholesale price might be $55 per megawatt hour. So the Lumen solar farm would receive that $55 per megawatt hour. And then under that contract, Zelestra would pay Tesla that $15 difference. So in Austin, Tesla is still going to pay its regular electricity rates. These electrons from the Lumen solar farm will not be traveling all the way down to Austin. Boiled down very simply, these PPAs are largely an energy pricing arbitrage move, and secondarily a green play for Tesla to acquire those renewable energy credits. And of course, Tesla agreeing to buy all of that output up front gives Zelestra a much easier path to get the site built, to acquire financing, and so on. And so simply, when market prices are higher, Tesla will receive money from the settlement, but also when market prices are lower, if that happens, then Tesla would pay money under that contract. So over time, this moves the effective cost of a large portion of Tesla's electricity use much closer to that fixed deal that it signs. So they're not paying for extra power here, they're basically just adjusting the cost for the electricity that they were going to use anyway. I think better than anything I can say to you guys is what I can show you. In really just the past few weeks, I'm now over 30,000 total words on Whisperflow, the sponsor of this video. And the 8-day streak would be a lot longer, but typically on Sundays, I do my best to check out. In short, Whisperflow turns the way you naturally talk into text that's ready to send in any app and on any device. Which means yes, Whisperflow works seamlessly across both mobile and desktop. Let's say I want to send myself a reminder in a text message. Don't forget to go to Wegmans to get a case of Diet Coke for Ashley. Oh wait, what's that? Sorry, get 2 cases of Coke for Ashley, and then get me a case of coconut water as well, organic. And there you go. You will notice it put it into a bullet point list and corrected all of my mistakes, only ending with the actual intent of what I said. And you may have noticed it was all lowercase because I have my preferences set to be very casual for my text messaging because that's how I do it. But what's awesome about Whisperflow is in any app that you're using, you can set custom instructions. So if you want it to be more formal, there's a preset setting for that, but you can also add custom instructions per app. And perhaps most importantly, let me be so clear, if you are still typing, you are wasting so much valuable time. And I know many of you out there are busy prompting AI tools, and if you don't know already, the more context and information you can give it, the better output you will get. And Andrej Karpathy literally just said a pro tip working with LLMs is a nice long ramble session. In these cases, I like to lean back, switch to voice, and just ramble for 10 minutes. But the problem is the built-in voice dictation on these platforms stinks. For example, what did Tesla say on its Q1 earnings call this year? Oh wait, sorry, I forgot. I wanted to know, what did Tesla say on its Q2 earnings call this year? So there's the built-in option with no corrections applied, a bit more confusing as an inquiry. And now Whisperflow. What did Tesla say on its Q1 earnings call this year? Oh wait, sorry. I meant to say, I want to know, what did Tesla say on its Q2 earnings call this year? Boom. Eliminates all of your errors and only ends with your actual intent for the inquiry. And just look at my stats. Whisperflow has already corrected over 2,778 mistakes made by me. And here's Whisperflow directly in an email. Hey Selena, these are 3 things Whisperflow does really well. It's insanely fast, it's insanely accurate, it fixes your mistakes, and that's what they mean when they say speak naturally and send without fixing. Automatically formatted with a more formal tone for my email conversations, automatically adds bullet points, nails the name, and gets the punctuation perfect. And I could honestly talk about this for days, but one of my favorite features is the snippets. If you're not familiar, Andrej Karpathy also recently talked about the LLM Council, and it's really just how you can make your AI chatbots no longer sycophantic. If you haven't done this, please do it today. It will change the game actually. Let's say hypothetically somebody out there is mad at Elon, so they want to start using ChatGPT. They would just navigate to the custom instructions, activate Whisperflow, and then say insert LLM Council. And immediately it will automatically paste the entire LLM Council right where you need it anytime. And truly, that's only scratching the surface. So if you guys want to try it out for yourselves, you can use my link in the description below and use my code Electrified to get 1 month of Whisperflow Pro for free. Enjoy. And look at this. Also today, Tesla and Contour Global have signed a long-term power agreement covering 1 terawatt hour per year from Contour Global's Sterling Renewable Project. This is one of the largest solar plus battery storage corporate PPAs ever signed from a single plant in the US. And this one is a hybrid solar and BESS project in Arizona. It's more than 1.4 gigawatt hours of battery storage and 450 megawatts AC of solar. Substantial construction of this project started last year, and on-site groundbreaking is planned for this year, and the completion is expected in 2028. And this deal has firm transmission rights into California's CAISO market. And this deal is expected to cover about 90% of the project's annual output. And the CEO of Contour Global said securing our biggest PPA ever and one of the largest of its kind in US renewable history with an iconic customer like Tesla is a true symbol of the global energy transition. And just know when you see MWAC, that's just megawatts alternating current. With solar projects, that's just the usable capacity after the inverters convert the DC power from the solar panels into AC power that the grid can use. But importantly for this PPA, it is not just virtual like the one with the Lumen solar farm in Texas. This one with Contour, located in Arizona and physically connected to the Western Area Power Administration grid, which is in Arizona. This project Sterling holds firm point-to-point transmission rights to access California's CAISO and will be pseudo-tied, enabling it to serve Tesla's needs. And just know that pseudo-tie means that California's grid operator, CAISO, can actually treat that Arizona plant as if it were located in California when it comes to dispatch and those services. Now with this one, sadly, we do not know how Tesla plans to allocate all of this energy it will be acquiring, but we've been told somehow it'll be distributed across its needs in California. And just some real rough math for context here, this scale would be equivalent to roughly 30,000 electric vehicles and their electricity use over a year. So 2 deals the same week, very clearly signaling where Tesla thinks its electricity needs are going, and is an obvious sign of the scale Tesla is expecting to hit, even though things feel stagnant right now. And a teaser, likely in August, I'll have something cool to share directly related to all of this. So stay tuned. And if you're thinking, wait, Tesla's making solar panels and has Megapacks, so why not do it themselves? Well, it's exactly what we've said now for really years. Interconnection queues and upfront costs, land acquisition, regulatory hurdles, transformer shortages, the list goes on. And right now we have 0 public confirmation, but hypothetically, Tesla could provide the solar panels for this project and could provide the Megapacks for this project. Personally, I think the latter would be much more likely, but for now, the battery provider has not officially been disclosed. And remember, these locations aren't set to come online until later in the decade, so we might get future announcements about a new data center, maybe a Cortex-3. And don't forget what Elon said in the past, that Optimus would likely require around 10 times the compute capacity than the cars need. So training the Optimi to be generalized will require potentially an order of magnitude more compute capacity than FSD for the cars. And I know many of you are frustrated out there, but zooming out, Tesla would not do deals like this. They would not build out the 10 million unit per year capacity for Optimus if they didn't have extreme confidence it was going to work. So at this point, that V3 demo cannot come soon enough. Shifting to FSD, there was a weird article today from The Independent. I'm not going to go through all of it because after reading it, a lot of it really makes no sense. The short of it is there was a Tesla whistleblower who was let go and now he's suing the company. But this individual, Javier Medrano, was responsible for overseeing the testing of FSD in Houston before the actual Robotaxi launch. But what I will share is that Medrano was saying that Tesla internally wanted a 15-to-1 ratio, meaning for every one supervisor, they would be remotely overseeing 15 test vehicles. But in this case, in Houston, he was claiming that he was responsible for overseeing 38 test vehicles and ultimately he could not handle it. And to be clear, Medrano was not a remote operator because that is for the Robotaxi service. This was just for the testing phase. And this is when we had safety monitors in the vehicles. And a taste of the weird stuff in this article, Medrano was saying that he took a phone call at 2 a.m. and he processed the call while he was physically asleep. And because he was sleep deprived, he provided unsafe guidance to the operator overseeing the FSD vehicle. Also weird was he was arguing an HR rep from Tesla told him to put his phone into DND mode during active testing shifts if he didn't want to be bothered. But his whole role was to be available if the operators needed some backup. So I don't want to waste your time with the detail, but just know Medrano is now asking a judge to order his reinstatement, back pay, front pay, lost benefits, restitution for the canceled stock award, compensatory damages for emotional distress, familial strain, and severe financial distress, and punitive damages, plus attorney's fees and court costs. But an initial pre-trial conference is scheduled for November 19th. But the primary reason I wanted to share this is because back in June of 2024, that's when Tesla bumped up the number of FSD testers in Houston to 38, leaving Medrano as the only one backup lead. And Tesla may not be doing it similarly in every market, but at the time it was across 24-hour daily testing on 3 continuous shifts, AM, PM, and graveyard. But my point, this was at least 2 years of testing for Tesla before they actually launched the Robotaxi service in Houston. Now, of course, as Ashok told us, over time, these timelines will come down with new cities. But be reminded, just because we see Tesla testing in a new city does not mean a launch is imminent. As of Monday night this week, Ariane said that he was now able to book a ride after 8 p.m. for the first time. And he said this is crazy because even in Austin, night rides are still supervised. But he did say the service did end at 8:30 p.m. in Houston. But as I've said before, the Robotaxi start times and end times city to city really fluctuate seemingly every week. When it comes to Austin, I cannot comment on the reliability of this tracking that Abhimanyu is doing, but he seems to be out there tracking unique plates, and he seems to believe that there are around 55 unsupervised Robotaxis in Austin. Now, I would push back saying we don't know that that number is always active on the road. This number is going to fluctuate day to day, but I wanted to pass it along because my estimate of 30 from last week might be a bit low. But as we learned last week, remember the number of cars is not the metric to track. It really is the number of unsupervised miles per week. And it's at this point I think it's worth sharing that Tesla solving autonomy does not automatically translate to a scalable Robotaxi network. The amount of physical and logistical infrastructure Tesla needs around it is massive. Charging, cleaning, maintenance, repairs, tires, windshields, body repair, camera inspection, calibration, interior cleaning, vehicle recovery, accident response, customer support, remote assistance, lost item handling, passenger emergencies, police and first responder coordination, depots, parts inventories, technicians, field response teams, operations managers. And eventually, all of this is going to have to work 24/7. And how about Tesla's fleet positioning? Because we know they're hyper-focused on the efficiency of each vehicle. The software doesn't just need to know where the riders are, it needs to predict where they're going to be. Where should they be in the morning? How about midday? What about at night? What about when there are events in the city? Because for these vehicles to be maximally efficient, they have to reduce the deadhead miles. And this is all part of the software Tesla needs to build. This is the path to maximize the vehicle utilization while minimizing the rider wait times. And until Tesla has a better handle on all of these flows, we are not likely to see the scale we want. Even things like charging optimization, you wouldn't want most of the Cybercab or Model Y fleet charging at peak hours. So Tesla is gathering valuable data: battery state of charge, the predicted demand, the vehicle location, charger availability, the expected trip lengths, maintenance requirements, local electricity demand and pricing, and that expected future positioning of both the vehicles and the riders. Because listen, when we get to 10,000 and 100,000 and eventually a million robotaxis, even the smallest of improvements with all of these factors will have enormous economic outcomes. And as we've discussed, Tesla is working on pickup and drop-off, and that might be more of a mapping and routing issue than it is an FSD issue. And this early on, Tesla still has pretty significant regulatory hurdles for each new city. So eventually down the line, Tesla will have more of a template it can deploy in different cities. But for now, it's still building all of that out with each new launch. So the number of vehicles might be small, but Tesla is busy building cybercabs, expanding the operations, accumulating unsupervised miles, developing V15, increasing AI compute, improving training and inference, learning from these demand patterns, building fleet management systems, hiring operations personnel, developing the charging infrastructure, building the maintenance and field response capabilities, working with the first responders, learning customer support, working through regulatory requirements, learning what breaks and how often it breaks, learning how many humans are required behind the scenes. And for all of these things, Tesla is busy trying to find ways to automate this wherever it's possible. So all of these activities are busy behind the scenes generating the operating data Tesla needs. So I'm not excusing poor expectations being set, but I do want to encourage people that there is so much happening behind the scenes that I think you and I overlook because we get so hyper-focused on the number of vehicles. But Tesla is sprinting to build the foundation as safely and as efficiently as possible, and at some point Tesla is going to begin harvesting the fruits of its labor. And Tesla will then be operating a service at scale that no one, and I mean no one, has any chance of competing with. So I know a lot of you are sick of hearing it, but I'm telling you, it's going to be worth the wait. And shout out to my guy Jay for inspiring that segment. And as Axios Charlotte said, Tesla now has 14 Cybercabs and 14 Model Ys with Texas plates in a Charlotte area lot. And as we know, Charlotte has been nowhere in Tesla's official materials. So like I said, Tesla might test here in Charlotte for 6 to 9 months and might not launch until next year. But this scenario right here is currently happening in dozens of US cities, some of which we haven't even heard about. And as we know, all of these Farzods out there, if you're new, the Cybercabs with wheels and pedals for testing, the word is the wheel and pedals can be removed for Robotaxi deployment likely in a matter of hours. And if I had to guess, Tesla has 1,500 Cybercabs deployed across the country right now. And some are doing winter testing in places like New Zealand. And as Tasha from ARK Invest just said, after Waymo's launch in Phoenix in 2020, it took Waymo 5 years to reach 5 cities. And since Tesla's launch in Austin roughly 1 year ago, Tesla has launched a Robotaxi service in 7 cities. So as I always say, Waymo is not the standard, it's not a great comparison, but I do think it's important important context. And as we know, Waymo's had a host of its own problems that never gets reported on, and now Waymo's considering ending its partnership with Uber. The companies have increasingly clashed over operational and commercial issues. Waymo raised concerns about the cleanliness and routing of its vehicles, while Uber criticized the sudden unavailability of Waymo vehicles during bad weather and argued the partnership has unsustainable financial terms. Which is why I always say Waymo's scaling numbers really don't matter because it is still unprofitable. So I don't care if Waymo scales to 10,000 vehicles next week. If it's not profitable, it's not sustainable. So right now, Waymo and Uber are still partnered in Austin and Atlanta, but that might be ending soon. It's just internal conversations for now, but after this coming out, it seems quite likely. And remember, Waymo and Uber already ended their partnership in Phoenix. And it begs the question, what does this mean for Rivian? Because Rivian and Uber were set to deploy 50,000 fully autonomous robotaxis. But as we've covered, Uber is taking a more adversarial tone to fully driverless operations. So the takeaway here, just know this partnership route that many of these other AV companies are planning to take is not the way. It brings with it so many logistical and alignment challenges that it's really not sustainable long term. So while all these other companies are back and forth fumbling around trying to figure out what to do, Tesla is laser focused, sprinting, vertically integrating everything to do it on its own. Hear me when I say this will be the winning strategy in the end. And we have David Moss out here now over 20,000 miles on his FSD streak. And as Ashok said, AI driving coast to coast without interventions was supposed to be a big deal, kind of like the Turing test for self-driving, but went breezing by. So look, I know this March of the Nines is so painful for many of us, but let's not forget that no other company is anywhere near being able to pull off anything like this. So just do not let that be lost on you. And I want to give a quick special shout out to David Moss and Spencer, who have been doing awesome work with FSD and reporting on the ground and going location to location. So if you're not following these guys on X, make it a point to do so. I'll have both of their accounts linked below. And if you guys see this, I just want to say thank you for all of your work. And most importantly, thank you for being objective and sharing the bad with the good. And a small quality of life improvement, Tesla's Robotaxi service now has the turn signals and hazard lights completely silent. And just to clarify, the Robotaxi account did say this is only in unsupervised vehicles. If you're looking to order a Model Y in Canada, right now the online configurator is showing expected delivery dates at the end of 2026, some into 2027. Part of it is Model Ys are being shipped to Canada from Giga Berlin now, but the other part of it is Model Y sales in Canada are up nearly 80% in the first half of this year. Now yes, it's coming from a low base thanks to the tariff situation last year, but Model Y demand in most of the world is very strong right now. And don't forget, Tesla added around 200,000 FSD subscriptions in Q2 alone. Now, can Tesla sustain that growth rate for a whole year? I'm not sure, we'll find out. But that data point should be very encouraging for when FSD gets approved broadly in the EU. Right now, Tesla is dealing with a dispute with one of its suppliers when it comes to Cybertruck production. This battle is with Angstrom Automotive Group, and this company intends to close a manufacturing site in Troy, Texas, where it produces parts for the Cybertruck and the Model Y. Angstrom has refused to ship about 700 finished Tesla parts that are crucial for Cybertruck production. These include large die-cast machinery, trim dies, fixtures, cutting tools, gauges, and X-ray inspection gear. Tesla said no other supplier can currently produce these parts, and changing the tooling would take months. So Angstrom thought it had some leverage, but Tesla is now asking a federal judge for emergency access to Angstrom's plant so it can move out the tooling parts it says it owns. Tesla said it's not interested in damages, it just wants to retrieve its property. And on the matter, Joe Tetmeyer shared Tesla's on-hand inventory could run out in mere days. And apparently this Angstrom company is demanding $250,000 a week from Tesla on top of the existing purchase orders, just to keep the facility running, and Tesla is saying, hey, they're holding our equipment for ransom. And last week, some Tesla personnel showed up with law enforcement at the site and they were denied entry. So then 2 days after, Tesla filed this emergency lawsuit. And maybe there's more to the story, but for now, Tesla's just saying, hey, we just want to get our equipment, that's all. So basically, Angstrom is trying to close a plant that it ended up acquiring last year, and as part of this wind down process, they're trying to get better terms from Tesla because they feel like they have this leverage. And I'm not surprised this supplier, Angstrom, just went through a 6-year court fight that ended in a $30 million judgment, and a subsidiary that went through Chapter 11 because of it. So it sounds like this Angstrom company might be struggling on its own. But this case is very new, and either way, not great timing as Tesla is trying to ramp Cybertruck production right now to deliver the lower price trim. Tesla said in the past 4 months, supervised FSD has been over 5.2 times safer than manual driving across 65 million kilometers, which is roughly 40 million miles in 5 EU countries, which means FSD is doing roughly 10 million miles every month across these 5 EU countries. And in the fine print, about 26 million of those miles have been on the highway and the remaining 14 million have been non-highway. There have been 0 collisions on the highway, and Tesla said there's been 6 collisions on non-highway roads. We don't have any detail about fault or explanations for those 6 collisions, but Tesla primarily called out 5.2 times fewer collisions in the FSD approved countries. So hopefully the rest of the countries dragging their feet will see this data and begin to understand how much safer it is, because this is real data in real countries from customers on real roads, not just in a test environment. And a small part of why I'm such an adamant supporter of Tesla, it's now offering free supercharging at select locations in France and Spain for wildfire relief. I'll save this SpaceX segment for the next upload, but Tesla stock closed the day at $307.44, down 0.58%, while SpaceX closed at $116.41, up 2.56%. This while the NDX was down 0.98%. Don't forget, check out WhisperFlow, links below. I'm telling you, you will not go back. I literally pay for the pro service out of my own pocket, and I'm now up over 38,000 total words. So this really is something I use almost every day and all the time. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.